Everybody, Bobbyfi with my man Eric Sheetsaber. We're going to be talking through today's MLB slate. And it's funny because we haven't had, coming off the NBA Finals, there was the last game last night. It was really enjoyable. But I always have this feeling. I woke up in a little bit of a better mood because it's not even that there's been that much NBA stuff to work on. But when the NBA season ends, I sort of start to breathe a little bit. And I'm starting to plan trips and, we're going to come out to New York at some point and visit you guys. And gonna just to sort of feel it's like a new thing over. Also, it was nice to end on a winning note. I cashed in all my big stuff last night, basketball and baseball. So I wanted to end on a winning note for basketball. I couldn't get the full win, but I had I had a really good lineup in the 555 that was looking great for a while. It just didn't quite win, but I think I finished 20 something. So I'm ready to get into today for baseball before I head to the Open tomorrow. Sheets, how was your night? And then let's talk about the slate.
Yeah, I ended up the NBA season chopping the showdown on FanDuel with 742 million people. So that was
Have you even played FanDuel Showdowns this year? I didn't even know you did that.
I played twice, and both times I chopped it. And both times I probably didn't make money. You know what I mean? It was one of the But it's a stupid thing to play. But it was listen, it's the NBA Finals. I'm not passing it. And baseball wise, as I said, I did well in the ball four. I did well in a couple of them, but I scored I think 46 fantasy points in the mega eights, which is not usually good enough to win. So we'll do a little bit better today. There's some really good hitting targets, meaning pitchers to go after. It's a question of which you like the most, and there's quite a few pitching options to take as well. So it's a big old slate, which I'm presuming the Cubs game is out. And for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to presume it's out. And there's a couple of games with mild weather concerns, but overall, it's a big old slate. And and we'll get to one of the games that I have particular interest in pretty soon, actually.
Okay, perfect. So let's get going game by game here. Yeah, we it's nice to have a nice big slate after the sort of smaller one last night, but I think it's going to be a tough slate. So Toronto, Baltimore. Okay, so I'm just going to point this out that no one will play Chris Bassett, and Chris Bassett has been just awesome his last couple starts. He's actually, out of his last 6 starts, he's scored over 26 5 times. 5 out of his last 7. He's put up 35 and 42 in that period of time, and that was against Atlanta. I think this is right off the bat a really interesting pivot off of what people are going to do today. And I will. I mentioned it last time. I didn't end up playing much of him, and this time. I'm actually thinking I might play some. Look, there's other options everybody's going to go with, but you're going to get a 2% owned guy who's actually been the best of these guys. So I'm in on Bassett a little bit, and I have a little interest in Toronto, but probably not going to end up there by the end of the day.
Yeah, so I'm not quite getting to Bassett. I have a bunch of other guys I prefer. As far as the hitting goes, I actually do have Toronto rated pretty high, both on DraftKings and on FanDuel. And again, I'm going to probably play both tonight. DraftKings and FanDuel. I have Toronto rated number 2 overall, but not considering price or anything like that, or even ownership. But I do have Toronto as one of the teams that I think can do well. But there are other teams with better matchups. Like for example, like Kramer, considering some of the other pitchers we can go after, is much better than these other pitchers.
Right.
But Toronto is a good par. Toronto can hit the ball really well. I'm keeping them in play. So that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, it's a nice hitting day there. So Sheets, why don't you start off the next one real quick? I'm just going to take a quick look at something.
Yeah, so the aforementioned 46 fantasy points in my lineup from yesterday was no thanks to the Red Sox, which was my 5-man stack against leader of the free world, Seabold. And they get another chance to get to try to attack the next leader of the free world, Chase Anderson, who did pretty well in his last start, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, Boston still rates really, really high on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Interesting is the Cutter Crawford. I'm not getting to him, but listen, I mean, whenever you have Colorado on the road, it's worth considering. I just didn't quite get to him. But I'll be interested to know if you like any Cutter Crawford or anything other than what I just said. Red Sox hitting and maybe Cutter
Crawford. Yeah, I mean everything's fine. I think Chase Anderson is as much in play as Cutter Crawford is. Like,
could be.
I mean, we haven't seen Chase Anderson hasn't been lit up. I don't think this entire season. I don't think he's given up more than 3 runs in the game. This is one of those spots that everybody likes to think is the right thing, and the total's huge. It's ugly weather. I don't know why. I just feel like this is something I should probably stay away from on this slate. I don't particularly. Colorado has a bad bullpen. Boston's low owned enough to where I guess they can make the list. But if this was last night, I would just say, and I didn't play Boston last night very much, but I would just say this. I would actually rate this to be a really bad play as the kind of chalk that they were last night. Because they're not chalky, it's okay. But I don't think it's some sort of a great play. And I just think people are going to realize as the season goes on, this offense, while they're better at home, and that's another reason I came off of them last night. It was because Yoshida was out of the lineup. They just don't have that many really good hitters. They're just a good offense, and when they're at home, they're fine enough. But anyway, all this is I'm going on too long, but I am probably going to fade the Red Sox. I did think they'd be more popular, so I might have to reevaluate a little bit. And they are cheap in some spots, so I don't know. I'll revisit that one at 6 because I really didn't want to play a chalky Red Sox, but it looks like they're not going to be that popular as of right now.
So as you know, as everybody knows, well, not everybody, but a lot of people know, I've been going through a lot of stuff family wise last seems like forever, a month and a half, and so I've been going back and forth to the hospital the last 3.5 weeks now, and we're looking. Nonetheless, I mean, after I go to the hospital, after Stacy goes or whatever, we try to decompress or whatever and go do stuff. So I promised we were going to go to not the mall, but there's a shopping area around here where she wanted to get a bag or something like that. And you know what, I wanted to do something nice. We were going to go to have to have dinner. That's why I was going to be out for live. I was going to leave 5, and then I'm on the way walking over to work, and I look down and I see that Max Scherzer is pitching. I'm he looks pretty good today. Who do they play? The Yankees? And I look at the weather. It's freaking beautiful out. And I text Stacy. I'm like, Stacy, any interest in going to the game tonight? She goes, absolutely. So we are going to the game tonight. So we will be there.
Oh, beautiful.
We will be there to be playing Max Scherzer as my top owned pitcher. That's what's going to happen. Nonetheless, I do have him and one other guy rated as my top 2 options anyway. And I'm not getting into either the hitting. I'm sort of interested in your take on Severino on the other side at 7,100, but definitely going to play Scherzer and no hitting. By the way, it's 1,000,000 degrees out. It won't be 80 tonight, but it'll be certainly good hitting weather. Right. I went and I looked to see. Before I went and bought any tickets, I went to see what the weather looked like. And first I went to Roth, and he's like, wind's blowing out. I'm like, okay, well, that could be a problem. But still playing Scherzer anyway. So that's what I like here. Anything on Severino, anything that I missed?
Yeah, that's cool. It's great that you're going to the game. I think that Scherzer is a great play, but it's kind of weird to me. No one will play him against these other teams. But against the Yankees, we're supposed to just play him as It's just kind of weird to me. I'm just trying to get used to this. I just feel like everybody's been making mistakes all year long with pitching, myself included to some extent.
Myself included too.
But I don't really understand what it's just what the obvious things that drive ownership are just kind of baffling to me. While Scherzer's a good play, I think he's a very good play. It's not like this offense is full of duds, and that if he ends up 40 or 50% owned, I think that it's probably okay to look at some pivots, and I include Bassett as one of them. I think Severino's in play. He looked a little bit better his last time out. He had, I'll just write off the game against the Dodgers because that's the Dodgers, so whatever. He was against the White Sox last time out. It's not an exciting play, but I do think he's coming back. He's starting to throw more pitches. I'm totally okay with taking a shot on him here. I wish that he was, a little more he hasn't thrown 90 yet in a game. He probably has to be going really well to do it, but we've seen the Mets just not hit at times. So I actually see an argument for Severino, and I don't think it's a bad idea to maybe not stack the Mets, but like Beatty's cheap. Alvarez is a really good catching option. Even Nimmo at the top. I have mild interest in some of the Mets bats, but probably by the end of the day, it's going to be mostly Scherzer and maybe a little Severino for me. All right. What do you got? Miami and Minnesota?
No, I have Milwaukee, Minnesota.
Okay, Milwaukee, Minnesota.
With two great pitching options here.
Well, talk about it. Which ones of these guys do you like the most?
Yeah, I like them both. Lopez is going to be the chalkier one, I think, just because of his price at 8,800. But Burns, we always play Burns. That's like, and I think he's just. I mean, he's just as good a play as Scherzer, if you want to know the truth. So I like Burns. I like Lopez. You're not going to get any ownership break. I didn't think that Scherzer was going to be as high owned because I thought that both these guys were going to get not just as much, but pretty close to it. But you know what? One of the reasons why Scherzer is going to get highly owned also is, again, because as much as people are afraid of the Yankees, they just with no Judge. Nobody. You know what I mean? Like they think Judge is like the whole team. You know what I mean?
Right.
So with him out, they'll be more than happy to play against him. So yeah, I like both these pitchers, and obviously I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Both pitchers for me. It is kind of amazing hitting weather for whatever that's worth. It's 85 degrees with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. What's going on with it? It's just great hitting weather, but. Minnesota strikes out the most against right-handed pitching significantly of any team in baseball, and on top of it, they're missing their best offensive player. I'm still in basketball terms. So yeah, I like both pitchers. It's a little bit, again, it's a good hitting weather, but I think both of these guys are right near the top, and I think it's close between them and Scherzer, and that's probably why the other guys will be forgotten about, but. I'm still going to throw in the these guys are all better than Bassett, but it's probably worth considering a little bit of a Bassett pivot in a few lineups.
So the Leon from the Discord, he's finally caught on board. Like basically, like whenever I have an opinion on Peralta, just do the opposite. And he even posted in the Discord, hey, she says, let me know when you're playing Peralta next, so we know not to play. I'm like, perfect. I feel it's the same thing with Jack Flaherty for me, if you want to know the truth. I mean, like, whenever I take a shot on Flaherty, he, walks 5 guys, and he, can't get out of the 3rd inning. And whenever I fade him, that's where, there's 17 other pitchers on the slate, and he's got, 26 somehow. I mean, I'm just, making it up because I'm not even looking at his game log. It's the kind of the feeling I get. I don't think that –
been very consistent.
All these guys are really consistent, but when I play them, I just always lose.
Yeah.
But I think that both these pitchers are just not, I just don't think they have the greatest matchups in the world. And I don't think that the hitting has the greatest matchups in the world either. So I'm probably going to just get off of this whole game. But I will say that Flaherty is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is like my 7th pitcher on my board, just barely making the cut. So if I get to Flaherty, maybe I'll play a little bit of him. I'm certainly not going to prioritize him.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants are bad against right-handed pitching. I actually don't see this as being a tough matchup. It's a tough matchup sometimes. You know what I mean? The Giants sometimes are going to hit some home runs, but let's not overrate the Giants too much. I don't think as a real baseball team, sure, but they're just. I think people don't realize that they strike out the 6th most of any team in baseball against right-handed pitching. I actually think that, if you wanted to get weird, I don't think Alex Cobb is that crazy. Good against righties, and he was a righty-dominant lineup. It is another great hitting weather day, 80 degrees, wind blowing out. I think that's probably going to be enough to keep me off these guys.
Yeah.
But I think Flaherty is a completely reasonable guy to take a shot on. I would lean Flaherty over Cobb given the matchups, but initially I was thinking about playing some Cobb. Now I'm sort of off of it. All right. What do you have next? The Cubs or the?
No, I have Angels, Texas, and I thought it was going to be some other pitching thing for Texas.
It's just going to be a bullpen game.
Yeah, I had it as some lefty or something like that.
Actually, if it's Bradford, they might let him go. I don't know who it's going to be for Texas, to be honest.
Yeah, because if it was Bradford, then the Angels could throw out 8 righties and Ohtani and have a good old day. You know what I mean? For as long as the guy stays in there, I suppose.
Sure.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but Angels right now rate, as a good option. I mean, listen, they got some good hitters, and I don't know who Texas is throwing out there, what they're doing, but Angels look decent. I'm not getting to Texas today. Probably should have played more than yesterday, and I'm not getting to Berea.
I'm totally good with Texas. I think that they're probably the team I like most so far that we've talked about. I haven't really liked that much so far. I don't think I've recommended like one stack. I mean, like just sort of blah for me. So
and my top ones are coming later too, by the way.
Yeah, so I think Texas is probably they're in play. They're a good offense. Berea's been much better for what it's worth, and then we just have to see who's pitching for Texas. Like, I don't know how to analyze the game without knowing who's pitching. I'll take a look before we go live later, see if the roof's open. It does seem like a kind of a high, well, not a crazy high total. Just I guess it's pitching, but yeah, I'm in on taking some shots on Texas tonight. I'm not like excited about it, but they're just the best one we've come across so far. All right, next up you have
I have the Cubs. It's currently like rated as red, so I mean I'm probably should just avoid it. I mean, thank God for that, because I'd probably talk myself into some tally on 5,700 if they played. So I'm just going to probably just avoid it.
Yeah, I would be all over Pittsburgh probably if they played.
Same thing.
I don't think people realize, by the way, I just want to take a sec. Like, I really like this Pittsburgh offense. Like,
oh yeah, I mean,
but I mean, it did. This is a team that like nobody thought anything of, and they lose their best player or the guy who's supposed to be their best player like in the second week of the season, and all they do is just hit. Really like that team. So not today, but we'll find another time for them. All right, Cincinnati, KC, start us off, Sheets.
All right, so the next couple of games are interesting. So you got Williamson and Lyles in this game. The only thing that's, I don't know what the total is, but the only thing that's probably keeping it under 12 is that it's in KC and not Cincinnati. Both of these hittings, both sets of bats are very, very much in play. Kansas City, you have two guys over 5K and everybody else basically free. And Cincinnati's play is up against Jordan Lyles. So both these teams are in play. You could game stack this and hope the Kansas City ballpark cooperates tonight. And that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, so I do like the hitting in this game, both sides, as you said, but I actually think you should play some Jordan Lyles. Look, this is coming from the guy who's one of my favorite guys to stack against, one of my favorite guys to pick on. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to pick on him tonight too. But I will take some shots against Cincinnati on the road. They're really just a much, much worse offensive team on the road, and that makes sense. They play in Cincinnati. They're basically the 10th highest strikeout team against righties, so nothing crazy. But 5,500 is something for a guy with a total leash. He only had 2 strikeouts his last outing, so he pitched 7 innings. But he's got a leash, 20 fantasy points. Is that good enough for you tonight? Maybe, I don't know. He's just on my list as an interesting spend down. But I think the main thing is going to be the bats. You have the really cheap KC options to go with the Reds, who are actually starting to be priced a little bit more efficiently. But keep an eye, like Will Benson, you just never know when they might lead him off or something like that. And he's 2.6K. He's been batting 7th, but he did lead off a few games back. So mostly it's going to be the bats for me, and I do like both of them. It's not as great a hitting weather as some of the other spots. 79 degrees with a little bit of wind blowing out, but it's good enough for me. And so that's what I'm going to stack this game, and I'm going to play a tiny bit of Jordan Lyles.
Yep.
All right. And now we've got Steve Rubenferrer in the mix. No, I'm just kidding. No. It's all right. All right. So Washington, Houston. I guess I'll jump into this. So I think that it's going to be like just incredible chalk on Houston. I like Hunter Brown. The only thing I would say is that Washington is literally one of the lowest strikeout. No, they are the lowest strikeout team in baseball against righties. It's hard to get away with that at 10-5. I still have Brown as a guy I love and I want to bet on the upside, and he's more expensive, so he'll be a little lower owned than Scherzer. But I mean, look, I like the Houston stack. I just wonder how much ownership we're going to have to deal with. And to be honest, it's not looking like that much. And if that's the case, count me in. I'm all aboard Houston as being the best 5-man stack that we've talked about so far.
Yep. Houston, one of the top stacks, if not the top stack. We'll get some others, but this is one of them. Hunter Brown, like you said, I mean, he's certainly has talent, and unfortunately, Washington's been very, very annoying with respect to giving up a lot of strikeouts. So at 10-5, I just want to listen. You have like probably what are they, minus 350 or something like that? I mean, they got to be like a huge favorite. So
yeah, it's only minus 255, but it should be more maybe.
So you got to have he has like a lot of win equity. And the one thing that's interesting is that they gave him he's on an extra day's rest, I think. So that helps him. It also helps his strikeout upside, helps his fantasy upside, whatever, helps everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing him as like particularly highly projected for me. And maybe you get him low. Is it possible that like a minus 350 Hunter Brown is low owned? Is that possible?
No, I don't think he's going to be particular. I mean, I think people just see the matchup and they see that Washington doesn't score a lot of runs, but I mean, this is a really bad strikeout matchup. But like he is good enough to create his own anyway. Yeah,
but I agree with you. Astro is one of the top stacks, if not the top stack.
And I will point out, this just on my anti-myself argument, but Patrick Corbin has 5 quality starts in his last 6 starts, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
I don't understand one of them though, because I'm seeing him with a quality start, but he gave up 6 earned runs. That's not possible.
That's really
so I'm not sure his numbers are right exactly. Okay. The weird thing is he's getting hit hard. He's still walking people. He's given up home runs, and you can always run on him. I don't know why he's been getting away with it as much as he has. This feels like it could come back to get him tonight. So I do like this Houston team. I'm definitely gonna go with it.
They left him in there for 108 pitches.
He pitches
in that game. He gave up 6 runs and he got a win. How do you like that?
6 runs in the win. Huh. Yeah, that's weird. The quality start thing is definitely a little off. I don't know how that's a quality start, but okay. All right. Anyway, we can move on to what do you have next there?
I have Tampa Oakland next.
Why don't you jump on this one?
I have this entire game as a fade. I have nothing from Oakland. I have nothing from Tampa. I have nothing from either pitcher.
Just one bad night from Tampa and you're off? I think this is a really good spot to go back to Tampa. If you're not going to play, I don't like them as much as I like Houston. And it's always a little weird stacking them on full slates because you are going to get some pinch hitters. But I'm assuming that Franco's back in the lineup tonight. And you're getting some uncomfortable prices on some of these guys. But Paredes, Rosarena, Franco, these guys are elite plays, I think, today. And I can't imagine the A's are going to keep getting away with murder. Jalen Beeks is not going to pitch long. I don't know who's going to be the long man. He hasn't pitched more than, I believe, 2 innings in the game this season.
I think it was supposed to be Chirinos, I think.
Is it Chirinos? Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the cheap A's. I'm going to say that every single day because what I love about these A's is they have a little bit of power and they love to run. So you can get a 2,600 Laureano and basically he's going to take a shot if he gets on first to steal a base once Beeks is out. I mean, I don't know if maybe he'll do it against the lefty too. I don't know. But they have some really cheap options. So I think this Tampa's the preferred one. The only problem is we have these 90-degree, 85-degree games, and it's 63 in Oakland with a little bit of wind blowing out. I believe this is the game, by the way, Sheets, where they're going to do. I read this thing that they were going to do a reverse, somehow they're giving away a bunch of tickets and they're trying to get everybody. I don't know if they're trying to petition them to keep the team in Oakland. Or just it's like a reverse protest or something like that. I don't know if this is the night for it, but I just wanted to throw that out.
What are you talking about?
They're doing a reverse protest in Oakland about them moving the team. So but I don't know why they called it a reverse protest because they're all going to the game. They're having all the fans go to the game. I don't remember too much about it, actually, to be honest with you. But
okay. I'll tell you this. I mean, I saw a few batters from the Oakland game yesterday. There is nobody in that stadium.
I bet you there's going to be, they're going to have a sellout soon because I think this might be the night. I'm not 100% sure though.
That's interesting.
But I did read that on Instagram. All right. Why don't you start off talking about Kirby and the next one?
All I got to say is, ouch, look at the Kirby whipsaw here. You have his last start, he got obliterated. The game before that, like just Cy Young Award winner. Game before that, obliterated. But for the most part, he's been pretty good. I have him as a marginal secondary play. Probably going to be. I mean, I don't say low. It should be lower owned. I have still 10-15%. I mean, listen, against Miami, he's probably going to get a little bit of ownership. I think it's pretty reasonable pivot. The other side of this game, the Cabrera. I want you to kind of talk to me about that one because I think you've had more. We've talked about him a little more often, but I mean, look, he's got some numbers. I mean, he's good. Every time trying to pitch anybody against Seattle, Luzardo got just lit up. I mean, like Seattle's good, so at least it seems that way.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe Cabrera. I mean, 9,600. No one's doing that. Boy, that would be nasty.
That's right. By the way, I think that Cabrera will get ownership.
You think so?
No, maybe with all these other guys. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
There's a lot of hype around him in general. He's really talented. And he's got a massive ceiling, but is he the right play here? Seattle is one of the teams that struggles the most with right-handed pitching in baseball. 226 average with 6 most strikeouts in the league. I think both these guys are very strong options that are probably a little bit worse than the Burns, Scherzer, Lopez. But Kirby is so good at he just doesn't walk anybody. You have to really hit your way out against him. And I just am going to bet Pittsburgh got him and San Diego got him. I'm going to guess that Miami does not get him. So Kirby is a little bit ahead of Cabrera for me because I do think that it's I just like him a little better. But Cabrera but these would be the next two guys for me after the big three that we talked about earlier. Yeah, this is a big play, man.
Speaking of which, man, about Seattle, and I had Musgrove in his last start against Seattle, and he was cruising. He gave up some 2-out stuff, and then they still listen. He gutted it out for 100 freaking pitches. They left him in there for 100 pitches in a loss, I think, no less. Actually, they didn't give him the loss, but he was. Actually, I only gave him 1 run after all that, but. 102 pitches out of him. That's I imagine that's the high for the year. Yeah, he was never been over 100. And Cleveland's not the greatest. I think it's going to be another one of those where I invent the idea that Musgrove is going to be a good pivot and he ends up 30% owned. So they always play him. Everybody always plays Musgrove. I'm just hoping maybe the game's like really, really late so people forget something. Right. But I do like him here. BB is just too big of a slate to play him at San Diego, I think. And I'm not getting into any of the
Yeah, Musgrove is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hate taking pitchers against Cleveland. I'll avoid it at all costs on big slates, and usually So I mentioned they just don't strike out. They've been the lowest strikeout team the last 3 years in baseball against right-handed pitching. And the problem is, this year, I mentioned that the Nationals are the lowest strikeout team, but the Cleveland is actually a lower per bat strikeout team. So these are the Nationals and Cleveland are the two significantly lower than everybody else. You could throw in into the mix, Arizona. But I Musgrove is fine. They don't, maybe it helps him a little bit that they don't really get to see him in general. He's not a guy they prepare for. He's not an inner division. You know what I mean? Maybe that adds some strikeout upside, but I'm not excited about it. And I have him below the 9K guys. I just don't think you need to save that much. So that's where I'm at.
All right. So Philly, Arizona. I mean, this is, I have Philly rated at the top. Maybe another 9 runs or 10 runs, whatever it is, against Zach Davies. Certainly seems possible. I don't know exactly what's Zach Wheeler finally got it done. I actually had him. Well, that's what you have. I mean, whenever you really need to get it done, you play Detroit and as a righty, then you have a shot. Look at all these pitches the guy throws. I mean, 108, 106, 108, 101, 107. He had 111 in one game. I mean, so needless to say, guy's got a leash, but I don't know if I want to pitch anybody against Arizona right now, if you want to know the truth. So I'm not going to get up to Wheeler, and I'm certainly not going to get to Zach Davies. I just go right back to the Phillies, I guess.
There's so Arizona is the other team that strikes it. They're the third. They're behind Washington and Cleveland, but they actually have a good, powerful offense. The difference between them and Cleveland and Washington. So the roof is closed in Arizona tonight, and the weird thing is, like, Wheeler, you could make an argument. I mean, I don't know. You could always make an argument, I guess, that he's the best pitcher on any slate, but like, it just feels like there's going to be no ownership at all. So I'm kind of open to it, you know. I think I got to consider a little bit of it just because the lack of ownership. But then again, we have the other guys I mentioned. Like, I think Wheeler's like a little bit of a, I don't know. I guess I like he and Bassett are a similar type of play to me today, where they both have these monster ceilings, and no one's going to play them. Philly, it's a little less exciting. The run total in this game, I thought I forgot about the roof being closed, and I thought that we were going to see the total like way up there. Arizona's legit, but like, I don't know. I'm open to the Phillies again. They're really expensive to be taking this big of a park downgrade against a guy who just kind of doesn't get rocked enough. You know what I mean? And doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Doesn't give up occasionally has the weird walk game, but mostly has reasonable control. I'm totally fine with the Phillies, but I just think I'd rather go other directions today, probably. So I thought a lot about this one because I did want to kind of go back to them, but I think I'm probably going to go elsewhere. If I end up with one Philly stack, don't hold it against me, though.
All right, so I'll start with this last game, then you could wrap it up. So one of the good things about the new rules in baseball is the games kind of end. Yeah, but listen, the games are kind of moving along. So the Met game is going to be over at it should be over at like 10 o'clock. So, and assume we get like an Uber and it's like whatever, I'll be home by like 11 at the latest. So, I'm going to be rooting for some from Phillies. And I think I'm going to be rooting for some Dodgers too when I get home. Lynn is obviously a better pitcher than some of these pitchers that we're going against, but I don't know. Lynn can get lit up a little bit. Kind of like playing the Dodgers every once in a while against righties. I don't know. I'd love Corey Seager to still be there. That would be really, really nice. But
me too.
But yeah, I'm sure. But I have the Dodgers. First of all, I have the Dodgers rated in the top 5 on DraftKings. I have the Dodgers rated number 1 on FanDuel. If that means anything. So I'm going to take a shot. And the other thing is, boy, it's just too big of a slate. But boy, oh boy, like I got a good mind to play Gonsolin, just for funsies. So talk to me. Listen, you know Dodgers better than everybody. I'll let you wrap this one up.
Gonsolin looked just absolutely one of the worst starts I've ever seen him pitch the other day in Cincinnati. He looked awful. He had no control, and he was just terrible. It is the White Sox, so I'm more open to it. But I just think there's better plays to make on this slate.
There are definitely better plays to make.
I just think that it's going to be hard for me to get there.
Okay.
I'm with you a little bit on the Dodgers though, because Lance Lynn, he's been running into some issues, and if he's another one who usually has good control. Well, it hasn't been good lately. He's been giving up a lot of hard contact, a lot of power. Yeah, why not the Dodgers? It is only 65 degrees, slight wind blowing out, nothing really there. But these Dodgers this is a powerful lineup, man, especially 1 through 5. So I'm okay with it. They're expensive. I think they're a little better than the Phillies are today, but I think that there's also a chance that Lance Lynn goes out there and I don't know. They don't get to face him, which makes me like them a little bit less. But yeah, I think the Dodgers would probably be. I think they'd probably be 5th for me if I was ranking teams today.
So who's your top one? Houston?
My top stacks are Houston, Tampa Bay, and then the Cincinnati KC game.
Okay.
My top pitchers are in no order: Scherzer, Burns, Lopez, and Kirby. And then I'm also open to Cabrera, Musgrove, Wheeler, Bassett, Severino. Those are my pivot and the Flaherty. There's a lot of pivot guys, and even Jordan Lyles. So, and then I guess you could throw Hunter Brown in that mix. It's a really interesting pitching slate if you want to make it that way. The conservative route will be to play, I think, Scherzer and Lopez probably is your cash game build. But I think you could make any of these other plays because all of these guys have ceilings. It's a very interesting pitching slate, if nothing else. And so I've got it Houston, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, KC, and then Texas and the Dodgers in sort of the same realm.
You gonna do a build? Just like we usually do. Let me run a Sabre sim. Is there any? By the way, I opened up my big map by playing on FanDuel. Is there anything good to play on FanDuel? If not, I'm probably not going to do it. It has to be, right? It's a 14-game slate.
What?
Are there good contests today?
Yeah, on FanDuel, yeah, there's a 222.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So,
all right, so we're gonna upload the projections here onto Sabre Sim, and let's just see. We built 150. What we would get. I guess Scherzer Lopez combinations, right? That's going to be my guess. Scherzer Lopez with I don't know, a lot of KC. That's going to be my prediction. What are you thinking?
Scherzer, what did you say? Scherzer and KC?
I say Scherzer Lopez and KC is what Sabre Sim is going to get.
You know better than I do. So yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes it's in a mood. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that sounds about right.
So that is correct. Scherzer and Lopez, as far as pitching goes, take a look. Scherzer 43%, Lopez, and then Musgrove, big surprise, and then Jordan Lyles 18% next. It's got Talion in. So as far as team stack goes, Toronto #1, interesting. Toronto, then Philly, Cincinnati, Houston, Angels, a lot of the teams that we've been mentioning. But really not much KC, which is because you know what? Because you probably don't need to play them, I don't think. Let me just see what the 5-mans would be like. Philly would be most of the 5-mans would be Philly. No Dodgers, I guess, because they're expensive, huh?
It's weird. Yeah, I think it's because they're so expensive.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I got. Anything different on FanDuel? So on FanDuel, for me, I have Scherzer #1. And then, again, I have the Dodgers, Philly, Boston, Toronto as the top 4 over there. And you look at FanDuel, anything different over there for you?
No, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Okay.
But we'll catch on live. All right, guys. I'll see you at 6 Eastern. And Sheets, enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to fire up golf in like 2 minutes, whenever.
Yep, sounds good. Look, yeah.